everybody, and welcome here to the Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 10 of season 59 of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series. After we had an off week, good to be back here with you all. I'm Seth Cole, and hope everybody had a happy and safe 4th of July, but hopefully you didn't have your fill of fireworks, because we might have some here tonight as the playoffs begin for season 59. 14 drivers begin their journey to be the champion here this season, and it begins at BSR Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Smaller field here tonight, 32 drivers going to take the green flag. Only 10 of those drivers playoff contenders. But the scenario, as it's been for the past couple of seasons, and of course last year when the 2 race rounds were incorporated, it's a win and you're in scenario. So for those 10 playoff drivers that are taking the green here tonight, you win, you're locked into the next round, regardless of what happens next week at Talladega. For everybody else in the field, with the exception of Dante Ricky, they're looking for their first checkered flag of the season. Dante, of course, last week getting his first checkered flag, but he wasn't high enough in the point standings to count towards a playoff position, so he's looking for his second victory on the season, looking for back-to-back wins here in season 59. We're going to get to all the details and everything here, but we got to run through a couple of stories coming into tonight before we give you your starting lineup. The first thing is, we mentioned the fact that there are 14 drivers battling it out for the championship. 4 of them not here tonight. They are currently on vacation. We'll run down who those drivers are as we take you down through the drivers that are battling for the title here in season 59. Jeremy Jeffries, 3-time winner. He is the points leader coming into tonight after the points were all reformatted based off of regular season points seed and the number of wins they had. Those bonus points also counted towards the playoff total. Brian Schilling, the regular season champion, second in points, 3 points out. Grant Wesley, who is not in the field here tonight, by the way, happy birthday, Grant. He is third in points, 9 points out. JT Mayhew making his first playoff appearance of his career. He is tied with Bob Seminara, multi-time champion of the series. They are both 12 points back in fourth. Bernie Mobbs currently sits in 6th. He's 21 points back. Donnie Garrett, who we saw in our chat earlier here when we came on the air, he is also on vacation. He is 7th in points coming into tonight, a total of 24 points back. Rodney Sullins, who's been in the Final Four in 2 straight seasons, he is 8th in points, 27 points out. Terry Bombard, who made the playoffs for the first time since season 50. It's been 9 seasons for him, and he is going to be tied in a 3-way tie with Tim Nofsker, winner this season, and Kelly Causey, 2-time winner on the season, who is also not in the field here tonight due to a vacation. They are all 30 points out. Chuck McClure, he's tied with Josh Metallic. Metallic's on vacation. McClure, winner of our season opener. They are tied for 9th place, or make that correction, 12th place, 33 points back. And 14th place is Greg Palmer. Remember I said last week at the conclusion of the race to tune in here tonight, because what we gave you as the playoff grid wouldn't necessarily be official until admins had a chance to go back and look things post-race. Well, Joe DeSpirito crossed the line in 14th place last week, but was involved in a pit road incident, did not serve the penalty, and was scored 1 lap down in post-race results, finishing him in 23rd. Greg Palmer, who finished in the top 5, had enough points to leapfrog the driver of the 24, and he gets the final 14th playoff position for his first playoff berth here in the Talladega Challenge Series. So who's going to get the first step here tonight towards getting that championship? Cannot wait to find out. Let's run you through your starting lineup here this evening as Robbie Nisus lines up on the pole. We'll have Craig Hagley to his outside. Chris Emery and Bernie Mobbs, playoff contender. They're in row number 2. Wiley Coate and Brian Rawson, they're in row 3. Jeff Corbella, Ron Hagel in row 4. Playoff contender Chuck McClure and Milt Surratt, they make up the top 10. 3-time winner and playoff contender Jeremy Jeffries. He's with playoff driver JT Mayhew back in row 6. Playoff contenders Bob Seminara and Ronnie Sullins in row 7. Dante Ricky back in row 8 with Dave Melson. Row 9 finds Glenn Harris and Bobby Farrell. And then row 10, Mark Paglia and Cy Jones. 21st starter would be Jim Glau. 22nd, Joe DeSpirito, as green flag is ready to fly. And we are underway. We'll run you quickly through the rest of the starting lineup here as Tim Nofsker will roll off 23rd, playoff driver. 24th, Jeremy Lewis. Row 13, playoff contenders Terry Bombard and Greg Palmer. Row 15, Billy Elliser and Bob Dixon. 31st, furthest back, starting driver of the playoff contenders, regular season champion Brian Schilling. 32nd was Jason Scheck. 33rd, Jessica Shelton, and 34th, Ken Roberts. And that is your lineup here tonight as Robbie Neitzes looked to lead the first lap, and they're already taking it 3 wide. That was Wiley Cope forcing his way up the middle. Chuck McClure and Jeremy Jeffries following behind him, along with Bob Seminara. That kicked Craig Hagley and Jeff Crivello up to the 3rd lane with no help. And Robbie Neitzes, virtue of the random qualifying order, is going to lead lap number 1. We're talking about the bracket series coming in tonight. Things getting very interesting over on that side, especially on the losers side. Last week, Jeremy Jeffries was able to top Joe DeSpirito, so he is now the leader, or the winner, I should say, of the winner's side of the bracket, awaiting what happens down on the losers' side of the bracket, which I believe is currently in its semifinals. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in depth in just a little bit, as Neitzes continues to show the way. Chris Emery into 2nd, side by side for 3rd. It's a couple of Dodge Rams mixing it up. Bernie Mobbs on the inside in the 31, Wiley Cote on the outside in the 5. Like the 24 of Joe DeSpirito fell back. Rolled off the grid in 22nd. Him at the very tail end of the field. Might be dealing with some connection problems, internet connection problems. Just saw him blink, and he did actually drop out of the TeamSpeak earlier on, just after qualifying was concluded. So, might be dealing with some internet problems here. Tough break, at least for the start there for Joe DeSpirito, but we've seen drivers this season have connection problems in the early going to be able to bounce back in the latter stages. Grant Wesley jumps to mind for one of those. It'll be really interesting to see here tonight the fact that we have only 10 of our 14 drivers and our playoff contenders in the field. And next week is the elimination race at Talladega. So that means Metallic, Causey, Donnie Garrett, and Grant Wesley, more than likely all 4 will maybe be in a must-win situation. Have to wait and see. Field will get whittled down, I believe, from 14 to 8. 6 drivers will have their journey come to an end at the conclusion of next week's race, as a little close there off of turn 4, Chuck McClure and Robbie Neitzes, but that middle line now begins to prevail as Wiley Coates, that Brad Keselowski livery, is going to take a turn out in front, bringing playoff drivers along with him there. McClure, Jeffrey, Seminara, and there's last week's winner, Dante Ricky, the now here tonight with us having playoff drivers, the only non-playoff driver that has taken a checkered flag here in season 59. Remember back when Ronnie Sullins made the playoffs for the first time in his career, and he was, by the end of the year, up in the Final Four competing for the championship. I look at some of these drivers, some of these Cinderella stories here during the regular season. Terry Bombard making it to the playoffs for the first time in 9 seasons. JT Mayhew, Greg Palmer getting their first playoff berth. We could see maybe a Cinderella story again here in season 59 with any one of those drivers making their way up into that championship battle. But we end up getting to Talladega Super Speedway for the finale with the championship hanging in the balance. Well, technically we have a double finale in a way. This was, of course, introduced last year when we ended up having the final round consist of 2 races, which was then Talladega and BSR. This year it's going to be flip-flopped, with BSR being the first race of the round of 4, and then Talladega being the place where the championship is decided. But it'll be very interesting to see. Drivers have now got 1 season under their belt of that double finale, if you will, realizing the importance of consistency in those final 2 races. And be interesting to see eventually whoever advances to that Final 4 who is going to be able to be the most consistent of the bunch. Little interesting stat for those that keep track of past winners. Last year being the first time that the 2 races per round, including the final round, was introduced. Donnie Garrett was the winner of the first playoff race. Not in the field here tonight, so we will have a new inaugural points leader, and we got trouble. Chuck McClure bounces off of Dante Ricci, and we've got trouble all over the place. I just saw the 338 of JT Mayhew get flung into the infield grass. And I think we had a lot of our playoff drivers involved in this one too. We just saw the camera was focused on Jeremy Jeffries. McClure, obviously a playoff driver. He's the one that snapped around to start that. And there is the 338 of JT Mayhew. Couldn't tell which truck he warped into. I believe that he got flung maybe all the way over to pit road. Jessica Shelton's got damaged. New colors for her here tonight, carrying the Flatout Racing Network black, green, and white. We may have to look at a couple of replays here to get the full extent of all who were involved. Some might have gotten major damage, some might have gotten minor damage. Caution out here on lap number 7. Let's go back, take a look. Started with the 17 of Chuck McClure. And I don't know if he got a bump from behind or if he got loose off the corner, but he came down and bounced off of the truck to his inside. I thought it was Dante Ricci, but he might have done a double bounce off of one truck and then off of Dante. See if we can pinpoint exactly what happens here. Truck behind him is Jeremy Jeffries, and I think he gets a bump off the corner. Mark Paglia was the one that flung the 338. Tim Knopfsker went up and over, and I see roof damage on him, so that's another playoff driver. Oh, then Chuck gets hit by Billy Elliser, who slides into him at a wrong angle, and McClure goes for a tumble. Jason Scheck, Jerm Lewis, all collected in that. Let's get an aerial view before we take some more angles of this and see if there was indeed a bump. Yeah, look, it almost looked like the 17 got a big run off of 4 onto the back bumper of the 5 of Wiley Coate. In turn, Jeremy Jeffries also got a big run, and by the time that McClure gets to the bumper of the 5, Jeffries gets to the back bumper of the 17, and you have that proverbial chain bump. And unfortunately for McClure, McClure might have actually been out of the throttle to not push the 5, but rather just have the bumpers kind of locked. And with that, maybe that lift, breathing the throttle, might have had the 1 with the momentum. When he got into the back of him, it was enough to turn him around. Here's another look at it. Then on the next camera shot, we're going to look at the 338. Dave Melson was in it. Terry Bombard, another playoff driver, sliding, spinning. I don't think he hit anything. Jeff Crivello, Brian Rawson. Glenn Harris there in the grass. It was collected. Bobby Farrell, I think, might have been involved. Maybe Bob Dixon. Some of these trucks might have been slowing get through the incident. All right, watch this with Paglia and JT Mayhew. Mayhew was on the top side. He had crossed the line last time by in 15th place. Wow. That's a wild ride, and that is... I'll be surprised if that truck is going to be able to continue. As a matter of fact, as I now look, JT Mayhew out of the race is going to finish in 32nd here tonight. That is a tough break for JT Mayhew in his first playoff race here in the Tally Challenge. Tim Knopfsker has stayed out. And I believe the reason for this is, you can see, as we come back to live action, he is still sporting that roof damage just above the driver's side. He leads that lap because I believe Tim Knopfsker is of the assumption that this thing is not going to be up to speed. Get the bonus point under caution while he can. We still have the lights on top of the pace truck, so he's going to be able to come to pit road. Trying to get every point that he possibly can here, as that thing pretty crunched up. Pretty good damage you'll see as he comes around here. The right side. well pushed in. Damage on the right rear. You can see the little sag on the right rear quarter panel with the spoiler. Wow. We may not know the full extent of some of the others that were involved too. The 28 of Mark Paglia, not sure how up to speed he's going to be. Dave Melson got squeezed up into the wall. He may be sporting some pretty good damage. Glenn Harris back there, we know he was involved. Jeremy Jeffries, at least from the angles we had, it looked like he got minimal damage, so the three-time winner might be okay. But we'll have to wait until these trucks get up to speed before we eventually know. Looks like Dante Ricky will be the one to inherit the lead when we go back green. Let's take the opportunity here under caution to bring you up to speed on the bracket challenge. Actually, about the fact that Jeremy Jeffries in the semifinals last week topped Joe DeSpirito. He moves on to the finals in preparation for what's going to happen in the results on the losers bracket. Round 5, it was in round 4, it was Greg Palmer taking on Bernie Mobbs. Palmer was the one that won out in that one. Grant Wesley took on Milt Surratt, and he advanced. Jessica Shelton took on JT Mayhew. She moved on to round 5, and then Dave Melson bested Glenn Harris. So here this week, it is Greg Palmer versus Grant Wesley. Obviously, with Grant not in the field, Greg will move on. He will be taking on Brian Schilling next week. And it's Jessica Shelton versus Dave Melson, both of whom were involved in that wreck back on lap 7. Winner of that bout will go on to face Chuck McClure. That's another one too, McClure. He's another one we're going to have to keep an eye on damage sustained in that, as he went for a bit of a tumble up on his lid and then back onto his wheel. Sometimes you can have what is known as a harmless barrel roll. That visibly looked like it was a harmless barrel roll, so we will have to wait and see. JT Mayhew, the only driver officially out of the race after what we saw there, that big wreck off of turn 4 through the tri-oval for our first caution of the day. We're going to be talking about this during the course of the broadcast, but want to early on here let everybody know that Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series will be running next week for their first elimination race of the season, but unfortunately, FRN will not be covering it. We will be back the following week, July the 21st, to cover the first race of the round of 8. So we will bring you up to date then on the storylines of what took place next week in that elimination race and try to bring you up to speed. Again, there will be no RTG Tally Challenge broadcast next Thursday. We will be back in 2 weeks' time. All right, lights on top of the pacing truck. Dante Ricky and Bob Seminara going to make up the front row. Chris Emery and Dave Melson in row 2. So the 038 must not have been hurt too badly, getting sandwiched up into the wall. Bernie Mobbs and Wiley Coate, they're in row 3. Brian Schilling be in row 4 with Milt Surratt, Rodney Summers, Greg Palmer going to complete the top 10. Green flag back in the air, and how about Brian Schilling? Started the furthest back of the playoff contenders, and he is already up inside of the top 10 from 29th to 7th in the first 12 laps of this race. Very, very impressive there. Might have done some pit strategy. I think also ended up getting through that wreck, which helped a great deal. Dante Ricky trying to be the first driver this season to win back-to-back races. We've already had multi-time winners in Jeremy Jeffries with 3, Kelly Causey with 2. Yet to have a driver that has won back-to-back weeks. If you want to go with back-to-back at a venue, Jeremy Jeffries went back-to-back-to-back here at BSR. Keep an eye on that one truck because he is continuing that streak into tonight. If Jeremy Jeffries finds victory lane yet again, that is 4 straight races here at Burton Screwdrivers Raceway that he has been able to find victory circle, but might be sporting some damage after being involved in that lap 7 incident. If he's he's able to work his way up here to the front if that truck is up to speed. As I look back towards the tail end of the field, and I do not see any drivers that are terribly off the pace. One driver that was not in that camera shot is Tim Knopfsker. We figured he was going to be off the pace. That's why he stayed out, got that bonus point for a lap led under pacing. He is right now running about roughly 4.5 seconds off of what the race leaders are currently running, as Dante Ricky gets shuffled out, and Chris Emery is going to take his first turn at the front of the field. Whoa, and he made a decision there that's going to cost him. Saw that outside line coming, went up to block it, and Dave Melson had too much of a run. And now Emery gets put into the sucker hole. That moves the inside line with Bernie Mobbs to the front. Dave Melson up on the outside. Big push from Rodney Sellens and Milt Surratt. Dave Melson, I think, is going to maybe edge out for the lead going into turn 3. Tim Knopfsker, he's hoping that this is going to be a race of attrition. Out there logging laps. Try and pick up positions as he can if drivers have issues for the remainder of this race, but he is way off the pace. Matter of fact, now he is running about 9 seconds slower than everybody up here in this lead pack. Going back to 3-wide racing. Third line comprised of Jerm Lewis, Robbie Nisus, and I believe that's Billy Elliser up there as well in the 26. Off turn 4. Advantage for a moment was to the inside. Now the middle line starts to get the momentum back off of 4 and through the tri-oval. Dave Melson looks like he is going to lead the lap. Scoring says got it by about 23 one-thousandths of a second. It was close. At least with that camera shot, it looked super close. Maybe not as close as we'd actually think, but in terms of super speedway racing, it was close. Dave Melson, of course, not battling for the championship, and we end up talking season after season to the non-playoff drivers when they finish up inside of the podium. Is it different how you battle the playoff contenders once the playoffs begin? Once you know there's a championship on the line, and over, the answer's the same. Nope, we battled them the same as if it was a regular season race, because at the end of the day, everybody wants that checkered flag. And when you think about it, too, for a non-playoff driver, the job in the closing stages of a race during the playoffs, I think, is a lot easier than if you're a playoff contender. If you're a playoff driver, you want that checkered flag, but you also have to weigh in the balance, what am I willing to lose if it does not work out? If you're a non-playoff driver, checkered flag's on the line, and what have you got to lose? Nothing. You're not battling for a championship. You go for broke. So it will be interesting to see between playoff drivers and non-playoff drivers in the closing stages up at the front, who is going to be willing to make the risky moves in order to get the first checkered flag of the season 59 playoffs. As Bernie Mobbs, as he got clear of Bob Seminara, jumped down to the bottom. Looked like for a moment Rodney Sellens was going to get alongside of him there. Now might be able to, as he's getting a push from Milt Surratt in the 80. Look at that third line forming up there. They're starting to make some progress. Chris Emery picked up his teammate Jerm Lewis. That fantastic 4 up on the top. They've gotten the 0-0 alongside the 3 wide for the 9th position as they're closing in on Tim Knopfsker. This may not be the best place for them to encounter him through the tri-oval. See if they can all get through safely. At least this isn't off of turn number 4, but it is a narrow area just off of the tri-oval. Like they're all going to get through, though. Knopfsker will go a lap down. He would be in the free pass position should we get a caution, which Surratt trying to clear himself on the 31, and he tried 2 or 3 times, and you can see he was not clear at all. Now I think he's clear. Let's see if he tries making a move on Rodney Sullins. Nope, he got now Bernie Mobb's got to push down the back straightaway. Got back to the left rear quarter panel, filling in that gap. Whoa, Brian Schilling! Big wreck back a gear again. This time off of turn 4. Oh, Ron Hagelin hits the wall hard on the inside. And I think, I might be wrong, but I think there was some kind of an issue there on Brian Schilling. Don't know if it was a connection problem or what. And we're being told that the 4 locked up. I'm assuming that was his racing rig that possibly locked up. Thing just went straight, never turned. And Ron Hagelin, shades of Lightning McQueen, crossing the start-finish line in reverse. This is going to put Tim Knopfsker back on the lead lap. Oh, there's some pretty good front-end damage now on the Jack Daniels, the Gentleman Jack Chevrolet Camaro of Chuck McClure. You can see pretty well pushed in. And again, we're going to have to go back and look at some replays, get the full extent of all who was involved and who got the significant damage out of all that. As Rodney Sullins led the most laps in last week's regular season finale, is going to be the leader here under the second caution of the day. Brian Schilling did a good job of working his way up from what was a terrible Lotto Q starting position outside of the top 25. But issues here, plaguing the regular season champion, who's got very bad damage from what I saw there. And we're going to look at this. Watch how the thing just never turns. I believe this is a race rig issue. Right here. Right there. Never turns. Go straight at the track. Bobby Farrell, Jeremy Jeffries, Terry Bombard, Billy Ellisler, Chuck McClure, Joe DeSpirito. Ron Hagelin took a pretty good shot into the inside wall there. I believe is not a safer barrier. It is an Armco barrier. Have a look at it. Boy, that's a head-on into the wall for Chuck McClure. And Lewis spins down to the inside. I don't think he hit anything. Barry Bombard, I think, had another harmless spin. He's 2 for 2 and getting involved, but not really getting any damage. Tim Knopfsker slowly makes his way through the incident. Preparation for taking the lucky dog. Let's take a look at the hit for Ron Hagelin. Goes to the apron. Contact with the 20 of Jessica Shelton, and ooh, big hit there with the left front into that Armco barrier, right back up across the track in front of Chuck McClure. While we didn't have our camera focused on him, let's take a look at that hit that Chuck McClure had that completely flattened the nose of his Chevy Silverado. And this thing just shot straight up the track. Bam! Still concerned about the damage on the front end of Jeremy Jeffries, as he got into the 92 of Bobby Farrell and sent him up into the air, and I think Farrell came back down on the hood of the one truck, if that was the case. Bobby Farrell, don't know. It looked like the 92 came back down onto the hood of the Oreo machine, but Yeah, it's a case of wait and see. You never know when it comes to super speedway racing, just based off of a hit. Sometimes it's cut and dry of whether somebody's going to be up to speed or not. But in other cases, it's, you know, they might be up to speed, they might not. It all depends on once they get up to full song. So second caution of the night, as we are a third of the way through this evening's festivities at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Like Brian Rawson is going to potentially be the race leader if he stays out here under this caution period in preparation for the upcoming second restart of the night. Only driver at this point that is officially out, it's actually two drivers officially out, Jerm Lewis and Chris Emery, who were both involved in that, will finish 30th and 31st, joining JT Mayhew back in the garage area. Second caution of the evening here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. We're going to step aside for a word from our sponsor, Ultimate Garage Floors, as we take you FRN side by side. The following presentation of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on the Flatout Racing Network is brought to you by Ultimate Garage Floors. Ultimate Garage Floors is very active in the garage remodeling community, staying current with the latest technologies and custom configurations so that we can bring you the highest quality installations. As a Northern Virginia Exposy flooring installer, we focus on garages and commercial flooring to perfect our craft and bring you high results. In a space that gets as much wear and tear as your garage, you want to be able to trust that the cabinets and flooring we install are ready to withstand against high traffic and regular use. That is why we include a lifetime warranty with our services, so that you know we stand behind the quality of our work. To get started with a free consultation, call us at 540-931-9006 or visit us on the web at ultimategaragefloorsva.net. That's ultimategaragefloorsva.net. Now, the 4th of July may be over, but Rodney Sullen's still sporting the red, white, and blue on his Black Rifle Coffee Chevy Silverado, and he'll be the one to lead us back to green. Playoff drivers comprise the front row here for the second restart this evening. Greg Palmer will line up to his outside. Milt Surratt and Bob Seminara, they're going to be in row number 2. Craig Hagley will complete the top 5. Wiley Coate will restart in 6th. Dante Ricky 7th, Bernie Mobbs in 8th, Ken Roberts will be 9th, and Dave Melson will complete the top 10. You saw there during our side-by-side, Tim Knopfler go around as the recipient of the Lucky Dog. Got his lap back. 29 drivers still running, all 29, with Knopfler recipient of the free pass, all on the lead lap. Just joining us, 2 cautions here in the early going, both of them off of turn 4, both of them big ones to start off the playoffs here for season 59 of the Talladega Challenge Series. Taking 3 drivers back to the garage area, including playoff contender JT Mayhew, who will finish 32nd here tonight. That leaves us with 9 playoff drivers still in the running this evening. Technically 8, since Knopfler is off the lead lap, or is off the pace, I should say. 4 playoff drivers will be heading into next week, possibly in a must-win situation due to not being here tonight. Defending champion Grant Wesley, as well as Donnie Garrett, Josh Metallic, and 2-time winner on the season, Kelly Causey. Keep an eye on a couple of drivers that sustained some pretty major damage in that last incident. Brian Schilling and Chuck McClure. Chuck's truck for the moment looks like it may be up to speed. Jury is still out on Schilling. Got some drivers back there trying to push him, trying to keep him up in the lead pack is Rodney Sullins. At 19 laps last week at Talladega. en route to a runner-up finish that locked him into the playoffs once again. Completed his 4th lap out in front here at Talladega. He's got Milt Surratt and Greg Palmer up top there with him. Craig Hagley on the inside line with Dante Ricky and Ken Roberts. Trying to make something happen down along that inside yellow line. And want to remind everybody that next week, Talladega Challenge drivers will be at Talladega for the first elimination race of the playoffs. Fortunately, we will not be able to cover it here on FRN. Back in 2 weeks' time on the 21st, we'll be back here at BSR for the start of the round of 8, and we'll give you a recap and the storylines of what took place in the upcoming elimination race. Again, that is no broadcast next week, and back on July 21st as Rodney Sullins continues to show the way. Getting close to halfway, so let's run you through your lap leaders so far here tonight. Rodney Sullins has now led the most laps with 6. 5 laps led by Wiley Coate. 3 laps led by both Dante Ricky and Bernie Mobbs, and then 1 lap led apiece by Dave Melson, Terry Bombard, Brian Rawson, Tim Knopsker, and Chris Emery. We've had a few of our playoff drivers take a turn out in front, get those valuable bonus points. Like both the 17 and the 4 are still up in this lead pack, so they may be okay. Actually, looks like the pit crew of the 17 did a lot of hard work on that front nose. It was pushed in. It was almost kind of like a reverse U when we saw it after the head-on collision into the outside wall up turn 4, but at least with the shot we've got right there, you look back at him just ahead of Cy Jones, and it looks like that nose has been pushed back out. He may still be aerodynamically sound and may still be in the conversation. Of course, Chuck McClure won the season opener for the regular season. He'd love to be able to win the first playoff race. Remember, for the remaining 9 playoff drivers, you win here tonight, you're advancing into the round of 8 regardless of what happens next week at Talladega Super Speedway. It's like the golden ticket to Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. You know that it's an automatic bye into the next round. Got a few playoff drivers up here inside our top 10 that would like to be the recipient of that automatic lock-in. Rodney Sullins is up here, along with Greg Palmer, Bob Seminara, and Bernie Mobbs. Craig Hagley. A big push on that inside line from Dante Ricky. They're going to clear for the first 2 spots. Jump up in front of Rodney Sullins. Now Ken Roberts will lead the inside, but that inside line is vastly outnumbered. There's only about 6 trucks down on the inside. The rest of the field is up in that second lane, so like those drivers trapped down there. We're going 3 wide. Surratt might be bailing out and dropping to the back potentially. Now Rodney Sullins crosses down to the inside of Dante Ricky, trying to get the race lead back. That's going to help that inside line. I was going to say the fact that there are only about a half dozen drivers down on the bottom, as now Craig Hagley goes up to the 3rd lane and appears to be dropping back here. I don't know if this is a case of get up here, get a bonus point for a lap led, and then get out of Dodge, or if they are not wanting to be the leader, not wanting to use up fuel. Some fuel strategy games playing out right there, but Hagley's now going to drop probably all the way back to the very tail end of this lead pack as they are fast approaching Tim Knopsker. And they are going to put him back a lap down. Knopsker once again falls back into the lucky dog category. Bring our DNF total up to 4. A couple of laps ago, Ron Hagelin brought the 111 Coca-Cola Chevy Silverado to pit road and made the left-hand turn to the garage. We saw the hard hit that he took under the last caution into the inside Armco barrier. Apparently that truck was not up to speed, and he has retired from the race, joining Chris Emery, Jerm Lewis, and JT Mayhew. Well, Rodney Sullins and Greg Palmer, I believe they are teammates. If they're not teammates, they're definitely drafting partners. We heard from them we heard from Rodney Sullins last week that he and the 22 were working together the entirety of that race, wanted the race to finish out green so that way he could be able to make a move on Dante Ricky for the victory. Two of them are lined up here tonight, and kind of a common goal for both of them in the fact that one could get the win, the other could get a very good points day. Both could potentially advance into the round of 8. I was just going to say, though, at what point, though, do you then have to think, well, don't want to push him to an automatic playoff berth and not go for it myself. Greg Palmer just jumped up to the outside of Rodney Sullins. Did he get that lap lead? Yes, he did. There's a bonus point to the 22. And really, there's a lot of importance, I think, for the playoff drivers here tonight, based on the fact that 4 of the 14 drivers are not in the field. You have a good points day here this evening. That there's no saying that you aren't maybe here tonight locking yourself up a spot in the round of 8 already, regardless of the 66 laps next week at Talladega. It's quite possible. We've got 6 drivers that are going to be eliminated next week. 4 of them are not in the field here tonight. JT Mayhew is going to get scored dead last, and Nofsker is off the pace a lap down, currently in 28th. So more than likely, those are going to be your 6 drivers below the cut line heading into the first elimination race. It's just a matter of how much of a cushion you can build between yourself and that cut line here this evening as to how precipitous the situation will be in you advancing to the round of 8 or not next week. Seeing some drivers back there that have been involved in, if not both, at least one of our big wrecks here tonight. Doing a lot of slicing and dicing, trying to figure out where the momentum is. Jeremy Jeffries, Chuck McClure, and Brian Schilling. And they're not making much progress. They're trying to figure out where the speed is, and they just have not been able to necessarily find it. And I don't know if that is a case of the damage that they have sustained. McClure and Jeffries have been involved in both incidents. Brian Schilling was involved in the second caution. Now he's dropped to the tail end of this pack. That may not be good news. I think he needed somebody pushing him. You can see down the back straightaway, they are quickly gapping him. Brian Schilling is in trouble now. 24 of Joe DeSpirito also way back there. I don't think... Well, maybe his connection problems are continuing, and that's why he's lost the lead pack. Was involved minorly in the first caution, and then he was involved in the second caution, but I think that was also minorly. So I don't think he has aero damage. But then again, as I said, NR and its damage model is kind of fickle when it comes to super speedway racing. You never know until you get up to speed if that thing is going to be able to be capable of running up with the leaders or not. Time by going to be 30 laps to go. We went back green on lap 16, so we should be nearing the point when these, I'm sorry, correction, not lap 16, lap 22. But still, regardless, we should be nearing the point when these drivers will have to start thinking about making green flag pit stops. Have to be in the next 5 laps or so, I would think. Jeremy Jeffries with Craig Hagley, they're trying to make something happen in that third line. They need more numbers up there. At Jeffries at the moment in a 3-wide situation with Scheck and McClure, so that would be for 12th position. Now more drivers jump up there as Sheck jumped up, Dave Melson jumped up, and then Sheck dove back to the middle line. Oh, Rodney Sullivan's going to get hooked, and we've got another big wreck. Huge wreck once again, this time going into turn 3, and more playoff drivers. I see McClure, Sullins, Seminara, Terry Bombard. Wow. That might have been our biggest and most violent wreck so far here tonight. That's saying something with what the first 2 cautions were. Mark Paglia all torn up. Jessica Shelton, 3rd caution she's been in. Wiley Coate, who was out in front in the early stages, involved in this one. Jason Sheck looks like he was in it. There is Rodney in the 38. Oh, there's Dante. Doesn't look like it's going to be back-to-back wins for him here this season. Need some pretty good roof damage on the Mug Root Beer Toyota Tundra. And I don't necessarily know what happened there. I looked up and at the last minute saw the 38 getting hooked up into the outside wall. I don't know if we had ourselves a case of bumper grab or what went on there, but we have had some violent hits here this evening, and the playoff drivers have really not had it easy. Milt Surratt's coming down pit road. He's got damage. That truck may be done for the night as he left the scene smoking. Mark Paglia is already retired from the race. Jason Sheck has done the same. All right, what happens here with Rodney Sullins? Again, another weird one, kind of similar to what happened with our first caution when we had the chain bumping between Wiley Coate, Chuck McClure, and Jeremy Jeffries. This was down the back straightaway. Palmer, Sullins, and Roberts are all close, and right there. I don't know if you were able to see it, but there was a double hit. Ken Roberts to Rodney Sullins. So what happened in that instance, we'll go back and look at more angles, but what happened in that instance was Ken Roberts gave a shove to Rodney Sullins. Sullins then got into the back of Palmer. That slowed his momentum, and then Roberts bumped the 38 again after that slowing of momentum, and that's what shot him off to the right. Let's see if this shot will give us a better look. Maybe not. Probably not. I think the incident will probably have already taken place by the time we get a good look. Yeah. Look at the trucks up and over. The Manera and Dante Ricky. Chuck McClure went for a barrel roll. We'll get a good look at the campers there as Rodney Sullins' truck came to rest. He did not drive that machine back, so that may be his evening done. All right, we're going to go to the helicopter cam. I was going to go to a different camera angle, but it's not going to show what I was describing of the chain bump and the double tap there, the double hit. Watch right here. 55 gives a bump there, 38 there, and there's that double hit. Wiley Coate collected up in this one. Cy Jones, Brian Rawson. Craig Hagley was in it. I think Glenn Harris got a piece. There was another white truck that I think was able to just barely skate through. It might have been Bernie Mobbs. Now, Bernie was a ways back. I'm not certain. Was it Robbie Nices? There was some truck that was right in the middle of it and was able to get through unscathed. Let's look at the 54. Wow. Wow. Oh, save it. Man, for everything that went on back there in turn 3, I think Robbie Nices will take that. An adventure, but certainly not a whole lot of damage sustained. All right, let's focus on the flipping trucks. Start with Dante Ricky in the 84. Like he and Seminara both end up getting hit together right there. There's Chuck McClure right in the forefront of your screen. Not sure who he got hit by, but second time that his truck has been up and over here tonight. Tell you, we're going to give you the official list, but the garage area is continuing to fill up as we speak. There are a couple of playoff drivers intermingled in there. Here's the incident already started. McClure again, straight up and into the outside wall, this time in turn 3, and then contact between himself and Crivello has him barrel rolling down the banking. There's Rodney Sullins. I believe the other truck that went up and over was Mark Paglia, I believe. No, it was not. It was another of our playoff drivers, Terry Bombard. I didn't actually see this. Take a look. Contact there, and oh, I think that was the Dante Ricky into Bob Seminara contact that sent Terry Bombard up and over. So about 4 or 5 trucks flipping there through turn number 3, bringing out the caution for the 3rd time here tonight. That driver's coming to pit road. Official list at this point in time of those that are out of the event include Dante Ricky, Rodney Sullins, Mark Paglia, Jason Scheck, and Milt Surratt. That brings the total of 4, now up to 9 drivers out of the race. As we bring you back to live action, looks like Tim Nofsker and Billy Elliser, the recipients of the lucky dog, and I think he broke a speed record getting up here, but unfortunately one of the drivers that are out of the event here tonight joining us up here in the booth, Dante Ricky. And Dante, obviously a hardship from not being able to double down after the victory last week, but a wild ride here this evening. It really looks like with playoffs on the line, drivers are making some pretty risky moves out there, and the risk is seeming to outweigh the reward.
Yeah, hey Seth, that was a really unfortunate situation there, and I figured I'd come up and say hello. That was a really bad time for a motor to blow. It's real unfortunate for Rodney Sullins. Him and Ken Roberts and Greg Palmer and a few others were really up front, pushing hard, close together, and it just happened at the worst possible time. They were really linked up greatly, and I couldn't do a thing. And as soon as he blew his motor, he got a bump in the back from the close pushing, and there was no way anybody could miss it. The majority of the damage didn't happen from that initial fling into the wall. The second thing that happened was Cyber Jones hit the back of Chuck McClure, spun him around, and that contact is what sent me flipping about 3 or 4 times. And it was a tough situation. I would have loved to finish that race and be a contender again, because I feel like we really had a shot to win 2 in a row.
Well, something that's been interesting here is we're going to be closing in around 20 laps to go, about 25 to go when they hit the line, is we mentioned the fact that 4 playoff contenders did not start the race here this evening. Big opportunity for the playoff drivers that were in the event to be able to rack up points and get themselves a little bit further ahead of that cut line next week. But BSR's taken no prisoners. It seems like we've had about 4 or 5 playoff drivers involved in every one of our 3 cautions here tonight.
Yeah, that's right, Seth. It's been pretty chaotic out there, and I couldn't tell you who's going to win this one just with the matter of what's going to happen in the remainder of the race. So it's a fun racetrack, but chaos can ensue quickly.
No, these drivers cannot make it the rest of the way on fuel. They're about 5-6 laps short, so may come down in the closing stages to a money stop under green, but Greg Palmer gets us back underway, and Greg Palmer with leading the most laps up to this, or second most laps up to this point, now has a chance to lead the most laps with Rodney Sullins back in the garage area. And what a difference a week makes. Remember, Greg Palmer, when the checker flag waved last week, he was on the outside looking in. He was short of making it into the playoffs, but a post-race penalty for Joe DeSpirito moved Palmer up into the top 12, into his first playoff berth. Right now, he could put himself as the number 1 seed heading into the elimination race next week. So we'll see what happens here, but Bob Dixon's on that inside line, Dave Melson on that inside line, Jim Glaude there in the 72. We've got an opportunity for some first-time winners on the season there to maybe get a checkered flag and spoil the party. Dante Ricky, who we just talked with moments ago, he was a non-playoff driver that kind of spoiled the party for any drivers that were trying to get a last-minute win into the playoffs last week. So opportunity here for some of the playoff drivers to maybe deny one of the playoff contenders an opportunity at an automatic locked-in spot into the round of 8. Mentioned that Tim Knopfsker, Billy Elliser both got their lucky dogs under the last caution. So of the remaining 23 drivers, they are all currently on the lead lap. Last time by of the playoff drivers still running, here is, well, actually, we'll wait till they cross the line this time, and we'll tell you where they are all scored. But we've only got 3 of them up inside of the top 5, and I believe 4 of them inside of the top 10. That might have changed from the previous lap to this one. Greg Palmer is the current race leader. Bernie Mobbs is in 4th. Jeremy Jeffries is now up to 6th, so looking maybe for that 4th straight victory here at BSR. Brian Schilling currently is, well, the scoring just actually updated itself. Brian Schilling is falling back, so actually Bob Seminara is in 10th. Terry Bombard is in 11th. Brian Schilling 14th. Chuck McClure in 21st, and Knopfsker still off the pace, but in 23rd position. Remember, when Knopfsker was involved in the first caution and had that significant damage, he was scheduled to finish around the 29th, 30th position, but he has stuck it out. He has gotten cautions in timely fashion not too long after going a lap down, and he is now running in 23rd place. And while that may not seem like much, that is a net gain of 7 spots. He led a lap under caution, so he's got that bonus point going for him. And he knows that he is going to net more points than some of the other playoff drivers, including Roger Sullins and JT Mayhew. So credit to Tim Knopfsker for sticking it out, continuing on, and maybe having himself a decent cushion back to the cut line when we get to Talladega next week. 21 to go when we come around this time. Ken Roberts now into the 2nd position. Been a while since the 55 has gone to victory lane here in the Tally Challenge. Now he's going to get a challenge on the inside from Bernie Mobbs, who moves down in front of Jeremy Jeffries. Jessica Shelton's had a wild day, 3 for 3 and being involved in cautions. Look at her. 3rd truck on that outside line, and Bob Seminara right there as well in the 712, 4th on that outside line. Like we've got 20 trucks up here. We just have a spin. We did. Oh my goodness. I thought I saw smoke there. Yellow flag is out. Caution number 4. I thought I saw smoke, but I wasn't certain. I was looking at my scoring monitor. Yellow flag waves once again. I was going to say that at that point in time we had 20 trucks up in the lead pack, but this is going to bring all those stragglers back into the lead group. No drivers a lap down, so we will not have a lucky dog, and might have been Crivello was the reason for this caution. Either Crivello or maybe McClure. Go back, let's take a look, find out who it was that brought out the 4th caution of the evening. And now, storyline we had just before we went green of drivers not being able to make it the rest of the way on fuel. Now they'll be able to come to pit road and they will be able to reach the conclusion on what they have in the tank. It looks like it was the 92 of Bobby Farrell and the 4 of Brian Schilling that brought out this yellow. Ooh, Schilling's going to get a late bump into turn 3 from Glenn Harris. He was getting a shove, and I think what happened there was he was getting pushed into the back bumper of the car in front of him, which was Terry Bombard, and when the 4 of Schilling lifted, he gets turned around by the 8. Brian Schilling, or like that's Bobby Farrell rather, spinning around on the brakes and grip flips up and over. Might have been one of those harmless barrel rolls. I don't see roof damage on the Air Force Ford F-Series, but Have to wait and see on that. Ryan Schilling, we know, is off the pace. We saw that when he didn't have a drafting partner, he ended up losing the lead pack, so might have been indicating to the 8 of Glenn Harris behind him, hey, shove me, keep me up here. It apparently did not work out in Brian Schilling's favor. Well, Brian Rawson going to get himself another lap led. Glenn Harris stays out. Looks like he's taking responsibility for the caution, which means that with the battle off pit road, Bernie Mobbs will more than likely be the one that leads us back to green. Final trip to pit road for these drivers in preparation for what is going to be a restart with less than 20 to go. Somewhere in the neighborhood of 15, 16 laps remaining once we get back green. So we're going to step aside for a word from our sponsor, Ultimate Garage Floors, and then be back at it here for the finish at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. The following presentation of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series on the Flatout Racing Network is brought to you by Ultimate Garage Floors. Ultimate Garage Floors is very active in the garage remodeling community, staying current with the latest technologies and custom configurations so that we can bring you the highest quality installations. As a Northern Virginia Exposy flooring installer, we focus on garages and commercial flooring to perfect our craft and bring you high results. In a space that gets as much wear and tear as your garage, you want to be able to trust that the cabinets and flooring we install are ready to withstand against high traffic and regular use. That is why we include a lifetime warranty with our services so that you know we stand behind the quality of our work. To get started with a free consultation, call us at 540-931-9006 or visit us on the web at ultimategaragefloorsva.net. That's ultimategaragefloorsva.net. Lights should be going out this time, getting us ready to go back green with 16 laps to go here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Thank you all for joining us here on your Thursday evening. Is the first playoff race for season 59 of the Talladega Challenge Series under the Rolling Thunder Gaming banner. We are currently working our fourth caution of the night, seeing a total of 9 drivers go to the garage area. 23 of our original 32 are still running. They are all currently at this point in time on the lead lap. Want to give a thank you to our eye in the sky, if you will. Broadcast colleague Jessica Shelton feeds us a lot of information of what goes on during these races, and ended up hearing during that commercial break that things are close on fuel still for these drivers. Remember I said that they could come to pit road and they'd be able to make it the rest of the way. Well, then why are they close? The reason being, the recommended amount of fuel that these drivers had was 1 can. And a number of drivers elected to go with that 1 can of fuel. So we've seen them here under this pacing period. We've seen them clutching. Things could still be pretty close, at least for these drivers that elected to go with 1 can. If there were drivers in the field that elected to go with 2 cans, they are good to go. They know that they can make it the rest of the way. It'd be about 4 or 5 laps to the good. Might be close for some of these drivers up here at the front. And look at some of these drivers that we have up here. They're playoff drivers that might have gone with the 1 can strategy. Greg Palmer, Bernie Mobbs, our race leader, Jeremy Jeffries, Bob Seminara. Will they have enough to get to the conclusion? Hopefully for the last time, the FRN Chevrolet Silverado Pace Truck heads for pit road. It'll be Bernie Mobbs, the Celsius Dodge Ram, that's going to lead us back to green. Through the long triangle, all the way back to the start-finish line. And the green flag is back in the air. Update under that last green flag run, Greg Palmer did surpass Rodney Sullins for most laps led. Currently has 12 laps led, does the 22, so he would have the bonus point for most laps led here tonight. Still a chance that somebody could topple that number, but at this point in time, the 22 sits at the top of the lap leader board. Four playoff contenders up inside of your top 5. Ken Roberts, the lone man out right now. It's Mobbs, Palmer, Jeffries, and Seminara. All up here inside of your top 4, inside your top 5 positions. Dave Melson's been a player here tonight. He's still up here on the inside line. The Wonderbread Chevrolet. Craig Hagley. Saw him take a turn out in front earlier on this evening. He's 4th truck on that outside line. Terry Bombard, he ended up barrel rolling in the 3rd caution of the night. Was involved in some harmless spins in the first 2 cautions, and he's still hanging in there. Playoff contender is currently in around the, looks like 11th position, no, 10th position this time by. Chuck McClure, Billy Elliser, Brian Schilling trying to hang on this lead pack, but it looks like they're starting to fall back. So McClure, Schilling, and Knopfsker, playoff drivers that are still in this race, but more than likely will not be in the conversation for this victory, just trying to get all the points they possibly can in preparation for the elimination race next week, which will be run, but unfortunately will not be broadcasted here on FRN. Back in 2 weeks' time on the 21st of July for playoff race number 3 here again at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway, and we'll give you the storylines and recap of what took place in the elimination race next week at Talladega Superspeedway, where we whittle it down from 14 playoff drivers to 8. It will be the biggest cut that we will have this season. Next cut will be from 8 down to 4. Couple of drivers mid-pack that went with the 1 can strategy. Like they might be good to go, but I would wonder about some of the drivers that are up here towards the front, like Palmer, who's leading the inside line, and Bernie Mobbs, who is leading the outside line. They can't possibly be saving fuel now. Hopefully they saved enough under that caution period. Talking about some of these drivers up here at the front looking for their first win on the season. How about drivers that are just in the tail end of this lead pack? They still got a shot. Jim Glad there in the 72. Jeff Crivello, we've seen him have a really good season. A couple of podium finishes. Wiley Cope right there in the 5. Bobby Farrell in the 92. He was, for a good portion of last season, the regular season points leader. Had a very consistent year, ended up pointing his way into the playoffs this year. Not as lucky. Joe DeSpirito in the 24 is up here in this lead pack. Remember I said early on when he was dealing with connection problems and dropped to the back? Had drivers that have had those kind of problems this year, and they've settled out, and they've been able to be up there when it counts near the end of the race. Brent Wesley is a driver that springs to mind. He's been having connection problems a couple of races this season, but always seems to be up there towards the front, and that flagman's got the checkered flag in hand. Ty Jones is also up in this lead pack. Glenn Harris. Ryan Rawson and Robbie Nisus, who led the first lap of the evening, the pole sitter. Trying to see if he can go coast to coast here tonight. At the front, though, it's a stalemate. Greg Palmer gets a push from Ken Roberts, and then Bernie Mobbs gets a push from Jeremy Jeffries. Neither one able really to clear the other, and it's left them stacked up all the way back behind to around the 13th, 14th position. Inside line gets the advantage here. Going into the corner through the center. And the outside line gets the momentum from the center of the corner off. You would think that the outside line would actually be getting more of an advantage here because they've got an entire straightaway to work with that momentum. The inside line only has really one turn to be able to work with. From 1 to the center of two, from the entrance of 1 to the center of 1 and 2, and then from the entrance of 3 to the center of 3 and 4. But they are, at least for the moment, holding the advantage is that bottom line. Tim Nofsker going to go a lap down again. But still, 088 hanging in there, 23rd place. He's been the recipient of 3 lucky dogs here tonight, all of which have put him back on the lead lap. And there's no saying that we may not have yet another big wreck that might take out more drivers, maybe more playoff contenders, which would help his cause in preparation for next week's elimination race. Ronnie Sullivan's in our chat saying he thinks they can all make it now. We'll see. Could be close. And again, too, there's not... Whoa, Ken Roberts disappearing there. Second on the inside line. That's a sketchy area for it to happen there. Bumper to bumper through the tri-oval, but may not necessarily be racing to the completion of lap 66 as well. We get to lap 62, we now have a lap truck in Tim Nofsker, so the next flag would end the race, whether it be the caution or the checkers, and if we were to get a yellow early on in that point of no return, whoever is the race leader, if they were short on fuel, they'd be able to throw in the clutch, more than likely save enough fuel under pacing to get back to the start-finish line and pick up the checkered flag, and that point of no return is fast approaching. About 3.5 laps away here as they make their way out of turn 4, and it is still literally a deadlock up here at the front between Palmer and Bernie Mobbs. These two drivers know what's at stake. They know that if you win tonight, you can put up your feet in preparation for 2 weeks from tonight when they come back to BSR, because you're locked into the round of 8. Ken Roberts, I think he, at least for the moment, is committed to pushing the 22. But how about that outside line? Because Bernie Mobbs has playoff contender Jeremy Jeffries behind him, and then behind them is another playoff driver in Bob Seminara. And I don't think Jeffries or Seminara are going to be content with pushing Bernie Mobbs to this win. Jeremy Jeffries, nice push there, 2 bombs off of 4. Not quite going to be able to get him clear, though. They almost both cleared off of 4, but the inside line came roaring right back again, and Palmer will go back up to the point. I think right now, with the charge that was made by Mobbs and Jeffries and it didn't work, I think if you're Greg Palmer, you're holding this bottom line. You're not going to put yourself in a situation trying to block that outside line. You let them try and sort things out. For now, you just hug that yellow line, hope the 55 stays glued to your back bumper, and maybe that will be enough to get you to the checkered flag. Greg looking for the first checkered flag of his Tally Challenge career. Maybe tonight is the night. Seminara has backed up a little bit from Jeremy Jeffries. Might be looking to get a big run here, maybe take it 3 wide on the 1. Nope, pulls right back up to the bumper of the Oreo Chevrolet. A lot of drivers in this pack. May not necessarily think it, but they are dinged and dented. We've been through the wars. A couple of these trucks in this lead pack have actually been up and over and gone for some flips. Bob Seminara went for a flip. Gary Bombard went for a flip. Who else here in this group? A couple of others, I think, that were in this pack that ended up going for a barrel roll, or at least for a wild ride. Bobby Farrell in the 92, he was one of them. Very impressive that they've been able to stay up to speed and up in this conversation, even though they have sported a little bit of damage, maybe some aero damage. Who knows? As oh boy, now we're starting to get racy up here at the front. Got ourselves our top 6 or so single filed out, and then Dave Melson makes the jump up to the outside, and he's going to get a push from Jeremy Jeffries. Bernie Mobbs, who was leading the outside line, now is going to fall back to the 3rd spot on the top. And it's Melson alongside of Greg Palmer for the race lead. Nelson's going to make that look easy. Look at the push he's getting, the momentum he's getting. Dave Melson is, I think, clear for the lead. Nope, not just yet. Here comes the inside again. That last time by was 3 to go. It's a point of no return. We'll give the usual disclaimer. If a caution comes out between now and the checkered flag, we will go back either during the pacing laps or post-race, look at the replays, but we will stay at the front and watch the race back to the proverbial checkered if it's the caution, or the actual checkered if we end up taking the white flag. Dave Melson trying to spoil the party for the playoff drivers, trying to get his first win of the season and deny any of the playoff drivers an automatic lock-in to the round of 8. Jeffries pushing him through the trioval. They're catching Tim Nofsker again. Nofsker not going to get lucky this time and finish the race on the lead lap. Palmer again edges ahead through the center of the corner. They're going to have to settle it out back there in the rear of the field. They do. Oh, here we go. Bernie Mobbs up to the top with Bob Seminara. Melson sees it coming. He goes up to throw the block. Jeremy Jeffries now left on an island in the sucker hole in the middle line. That killed the whole outside line. I don't think that helped Dave Melson, because now he's lost 2nd and now 3rd. Roberts goes into the 2nd spot. Hagley into 3rd. Jessica Shelton now going to move into 4th. And the white flag will be displayed this time by, and your top 5 are all non-playoff, your top 5 are all non-playoff drivers. Palmer's going to have to try and keep them all at bay. Looking for the victory, looking for an automatic ticket into the round of 8. Ken Roberts, will he make a move? Hagley there in 3rd, Shelton there in 4th. Do any of these trucks have enough non-damage to be able to make a move? Shelton shows the nose up there. Jim Glaude does as well, but they stay in line. Go all the way back to 7th to find Jeremy Jeffries, the nearest playoff driver, as Greg Palmer, who again got added into the playoffs middle of the week after a post-race review, and he looks like he may very well be the first driver locked in to the round of 8 through the trioval. Greg Palmer goes to victory lane here tonight at BSR. He was the number 14 seed of the 14 playoff drivers. and he knows he'll be moving on to the round of 8. 21 laps led here tonight for Greg Palmer, and there's always one that spins out the race winner in post congratulations. But how about that? First career win, first career playoff appearance, and now first career time of advancing into the round of 8. We've had the opportunity to interview first-time winners here in the Tally Challenge before. This one might be worth waiting for, because not only is it a first career win, but it takes place during the playoffs. What a way to open up the playoffs here tonight. Greg Palmer brings it around to the start-finish line. Let's watch this celebration. Greg was able to keep them all in his rearview mirror here this evening. Ken Roberts, his best finish of the season in 3rd, and Craig Hagley, I believe our top 3 all got their best finishes on the season here tonight. And we'll be talking with all 3 of them in just a few moments. Jessica Shelton brought a wounded truck home in 4th. Jim Glaude brings it home in the 5th position. How about Cy Jones? Going to get 6th place here tonight. A bit of an underdog night here for the non-playoff drivers, as I believe only 2 playoff contenders even finished up inside the top 10. Palmer the winner, and Jeremy Jeffries, who finishes in the 7th position here tonight. Here's a look at the full finishing results. Wiley Coate, 8th place for him. Glenn Harris will bring it home in 9th. There's about 75% of the drivers that finished up inside the top 10 were involved in at least one of the 5 cautions here this evening. Dave Melson going to complete the top 10 there. Robbie Nices brings it home in 11th. He spent some time out in front here tonight. Bernie Mobbs, he was leading the outside line when we went back green, was challenging Greg Palmer, but he got shuffled all the way back to 12th. Brian Rawson will get 13th. Bob Seminara also got shuffled back. He finishes in 14th. Bob Dixon in 15th. Terry Bombard, he'll bring it home in 16th. Jeff Crivello, Joe DeSpirito, they were basically the lead pack, 18 cars in the closing stages. Top 20 completed by Bobby Farrell and Billy Elliser. Chuck McClure, Brian Schilling, Tim Nofsker all clumped together in 21st through 23rd. They were all off the pace, but they finished out the race. And the rest of the drivers DNF after Rodney Sullins had a engine failure while running in 2nd place. That incident taking out Dante Ricky, the aforementioned Sullins, Mark Paglia, Jason Scheck, and Milt Surratt. And Ron Hagelin, Jerm Lewis, Chris Emery, and JT Mayhew were the remainder of the field. 2 drivers back in the garage area at the conclusion. 3 drivers off the pace. One of them 1 lap down, one of them 2 laps down. Look at drivers like Palmer and Jeremy Jeffries. Palmer already locked into the next round, but Jeremy Jeffries, this is going to be a big points night for him. Also could be a big points night, even though they finished outside of the top 10, for Bernie Mobbs, Bob Seminara, and Terry Bombard. They could have a pretty good gap between themselves and that cut line for the Elite 8 heading into next week at Talladega Super Speedway. But what a finish here this evening. Greg Palmer, first career win in his first playoff appearance. And we're going to be talking with him down in Victory Lane very shortly. Let's see if we can dial up some of the other drivers that finished on the podium here tonight. And let's kick things off with the guy that finishes 3rd place this evening, Craig Hagley. Hey, Craig, it's Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got me?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Wild one here tonight. Saw a lot of drivers really just have to kind of keep soldiering on after being involved in either 1, 2, or maybe all 3 of the big ones we saw here in the first half of this race. We saw you get involved, I believe, in at least one of them, maybe 2, but you bring it home in the 3rd position. First off, how badly damaged was the truck after you were involved in that incident? And then did you think that thing was still going to have enough speed to be in the conversation for this checkered flag by the end of the night?
I figured by looking at it on the way to pit road, I was probably totaled out, but they brought the hammers out and they shaped it back into shape, and it was still able to somehow soldier on. I didn't figure I'd have enough speed to keep up, but it stayed right there, and we just plugged along all night.
A strong run here tonight. We ended up seeing that when the white flag was taken, a single file back amongst about the top 6 or 7. Are you planning on making a move? Do you have anybody behind you that if you made a move, you felt confident was going to go with you? What kind of strategy were you playing there on that final lap?
I was just playing the tail end of the 22 and the 55, just making sure to push Palmer out there and get him as many points towards the championship as we could get tonight.
Third time you bring it home on the podium here this evening. Now, I ask this usually during the playoffs of the non-playoff contenders. I'm going to ask you the same thing. Do you race any differently here, knowing that there is a playoff spot on the line for the drivers that have advanced into the postseason, or do you race the same way as if this is any type of race? Because we know that at the end of the night, every driver, once they take that green flag, they want to be that first one back to the checkers.
I try and race them all the same, just that way I'm not changing anything up and doing anything different week to week. I mean, I'll cut them a little bit of slack and not push near as hard because I don't want to end up being that guy.
Well, a great performance for you here tonight. Out in front, led some laps, bring it home on the podium. Actually, here tonight, bring it home not only in third, but started from second. So started well and ended well here this evening. Had a little bump along the road, but great run for you here tonight. Congratulations, Craig. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
I just want to thank everybody on the team, and shout out to my buddy Jeff over at Talladega Nights, and shout out to Lane and my friend Amy.
That's Craig Hagley. He brings it home third place here tonight under the lights at BSR. Great performance for you here tonight. Congratulations. Hopefully we can see you keep the consistency up next week at Talladega.
Thanks, guys. Y'all have a good night.
That was actually, as I said, the third podium finish for Hagley, so I did not have the information up when I made that statement. He had a third and a second prior to tonight. Let's see if we can dial up a driver that I now can confirm. Basically, looking at the statistics, he gets his best finish of the season and his first podium of the season. Let's see if we can dial up the 55 of Ken Roberts. Hey, Ken, Seth up here in the FRM booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, Seth, go ahead.
Well, great run for you here this evening. A lot of drivers running into some issues here tonight, getting caught up in a lot of those big wrecks, but I don't think we saw this 55 get caught up in anything. So the first thing I'm going to ask is, how were you able to get through all of that? Because it seemed like everybody in the field, in some way, shape, or form, got bits and pieces of it.
A lot of it was just luck, right place, right time. I've had a lot of bad luck this season, especially early on. So it was nice to have a little good luck come my way. I did get the crap scared out of me when Rodney lost his engine or whatever. He blew up in front of me. I thought that was going to be turn out to be pretty bad, but was able to get underneath of him before it got too bad. So yeah, a lot of luck tonight.
Well, it translates into a second place finish here tonight, your best finish so far on the season. Let's go back to that last lap because we ended up having a single file train opportunity for someone to be able to make a move for that win. You have anything for the 22? Would you have any strategy plan to be able to try and step out and get this checkered flag?
Well, Palmer is a teammate, and he's never won here at RTG, and everybody knows how hard it is to win here. So I told him I'm sticking with him. He goes to the hot dog stand, I'll make sure he's got mustard on it.
Well, Ken, obviously, with the second place finish here tonight, I mentioned the fact that a couple of seasons ago we saw you go to victory lane. So, coming down this home stretch, do we see this 55 in victory lane? Is this a step in the right direction? You talked about the struggles that this truck has had here in the early portion of the season, but look back at last week. You brought it home in 8th for a top 10 finish, a podium finish here tonight. So maybe get a checkered flag before the season comes to a close.
Yeah, that'd be nice if if it works out and I can get up there. And but tonight, Greg squeaked in on points, so we was making sure he could have a good points night. There's a lot of heavy hitters weren't here tonight, and some of the heavy hitters that were here had some trouble. So we just wanted to make sure we could maximize his points as much as possible, and we'll try for that checkered flag here maybe down the road somewhere.
Well, Ken, congratulations on the performance here tonight. Want to remind everybody that Ken did this from starting dead last on the grid, brings it home in second place. So I had to pass a lot of trucks here this evening, and as said, was able to keep it out of trouble. We'll let you have the floor here for some thank you sponsors and shout outs before we let you go.
Yeah, I'd like to thank all the guys here at RTG, all the admins and stuff for everything that they do. It's a fabulous place to race. A lot of good competition. I'd like to thank Seth, you guys for the broadcast. They're awesome. I love to go back and watch them after we get done here. And just shout out to my teammates. We try to get as many of them in the playoffs as we can and just help them as best we can. So that's about it.
Ken Roberts, second place here tonight in the first playoff race. Congratulations on the great run, and best of luck here down the remainder of the playoffs.
Thanks, Seth. Have a good night.
And let's see if we can go down to victory lane. First finish on the podium, his best finish prior to tonight was 2 fifth-place finishes. One of them took place last week at Talladega that eventually locked him into a playoff spot. Let's see if we can dial up Greg Palmer. Hey, Greg, it's Seth up here in the FRN booth. You got me?
Good evening, Seth.
Well, I mean, what a wild week for this team, huh? Last week, top 5 run at Talladega. It looked like, based off the math, just outside the cut line to advance into the top 12 on points for the playoffs, but middle of the week, admins do a post-race review. 24 gets an EOL. You're into the playoffs, and now here tonight, we're talking to you advancing into the round of 8. I mean, did you see this coming?
Not at all. Not even last week. Like you just mentioned, I was right place, right time. Unfortunately, I forgot who it was got deducted points because of, I think, an accident or whatever. I'm in the top 12, and here I am tonight. Same predicament. Right place, right time.
Started this race from the 21st position. Now, one thing that we ended up seeing was a lot of drivers run into trouble here tonight, both playoff and non-playoff drivers. You spent most of the time, you were able to fight your way up to the front of the field early and stay up there at the front of the field. Was that the key for being there at the end with all the other drivers, a lot of the playoff contenders getting bits and pieces of those big ones in the first half of this race?
That was definitely the key. I wanted to stay up top. I just want to stay in the top 10. But after that first accident, I was like, wow, it could be mine for the taking. Unfortunately for Tim, I think I'm trying to think who else was involved in that accident. I think Schilling.
I believe so. Yeah, Schilling. I think McClure was in it. Yeah, there were a lot of them.
Yeah, it happened right in front of me, and I stayed high. Saw the smoke. I stayed high. I took a chance, and I just barely missed it going across the start-finish line.
All right, so you're locked into the round of 8. The championship gets decided at Talladega, where we're going to next week. You don't have to worry about your finishing position there. You know that you're advancing into the next round. So what is the goal when this 22 takes to the track next week?
Stay clean, stay focused. I'm going to help my teammates. I'm going to try. I got to see where Rodney is. I know he finished 25th today, but he's my teammate. I got to help him out. Definitely. Kelly Causey, he took a provisional this evening. Got to help him out next week. We all help each other here tonight. Unfortunately, Rodney blew a motor. He was out. They were helping me. And, that's what teammates are for, Seth. You know that.
Absolutely. Well, Greg, congratulations on your first career win here in the Tally Challenge. As we say, these are difficult races to win. So well done to you on that. Congratulations on obviously making it into the playoffs and now advancing into the playoffs. It's going to be a lot of fun to see what you're able to do once the round of 8 begins in a couple of weeks' time. But before we let you get back to your celebrating, we're handing the microphone over to you for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Oh, got to thank my teammates, definitely. Rodney for painting all my cars and trucks. Kenny, you're the best. Kelly, I wish you were here tonight to see this and to be a part of this. Paglia, Craig Hagley, guys, they were great teammates all season. They have been. I got to thank you, Seth. You keep this going, man. I'll tell you, guys and girls, they love listening to your broadcast. Thank the admins here. Wiley, Cannon, everybody. Josh, you couldn't be here tonight. Love this league. Love the guys. Have a good time every week, man. I'm just thankful that I won tonight.
Well, Greg Palmer's first career victory is a big one here in the playoffs. He knows he will be moving on to the next round towards the championship. He's headed for the round of 8 with his victory here tonight in the playoff opener at Burt Screwdrivers Raceway. Congratulations on the victory. Go and enjoy it, Greg, and best of luck next week at Talladega, and then, of course, in 2 weeks' time when we start the next round of the playoffs.
Thanks, Seth. Thanks for all you do, man.
Greg Palmer, your winner here tonight at BSR. First career win. It's the first time we've had a first-time winner since all the way back September 1st of 2022. That was the season opener of season 57 when Nathan Balser went to victory lane at Talladega. So congratulations once again to Greg Palmer. We know that he will be advancing into the round of 8, but the question is, who's advancing with him? We're going to be finding that out when these drivers take to Talladega next week. We'll have to wait for all of the calculations and everything. Again, only 2 of your playoff drivers finished up inside of the top 10 here this evening. I believe 4 of them up inside of the top 10, and 5 of them inside of the top 20. So things are going to be, I think, very spread out amongst the 14 playoff drivers heading into next week. Of course, 4 drivers didn't take the green flag tonight, had to take provisionals, and I believe 3 of them finished out of the race. So things are going to be very, very interesting as far as who will be advancing and who will not. We might have quite a few drivers, maybe about half dozen drivers that'll be heading into next week's elimination race in a must-win situation. Again, unfortunately, we will not be bringing you that broadcast next week here on Flatout Racing Network. The drivers will run. We will be back in 2 weeks' time back here at Burnt Screwdrivers Raceway. Starting off that round of 8, we will give you the storylines. We will give you the recaps of who advanced, who got eliminated in next week's race in preparation for the next step towards the championship here in season 59 of the Talladega Challenge Series. But once again, thank you everybody for joining us here on your Thursday night. Hope you guys enjoyed our coverage, and we will see you guys back here in 2 weeks' time on July 21st for race number 12 of the season. I've been Seth Cole. We'll see you guys in 2 weeks' time here as you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of FRN, the Flatout Racing Network.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of Flatout Racing Network and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of Flatout Racing Network and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. Flatout Racing Network would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoy